Now to the latest in legal headlines, including new developments related to the ongoing federal criminal case against Sean Diddy Combs.
This time, the rap mogul is accusing federal prosecutors of violating his constitutional rights. Joining us now with the latest, ABC News contributor and attorney Brian Buckmire. We got a lot of cases to talk about today, but we're going to start with the Diddy of it all. The feds seized Diddy's handwritten jailhouse notes in a recent raid. Prosecutors say it's evidence the rap mogul is trying to sway public opinion, as well as pay off potential witnesses. Diddy's lawyers are saying the seizure is outrageous conduct in an attempt to try to keep him incarcerated before his federal trial. What's going on here?
A lot's going on. I can tell you as both an attorney who represents people in the Southern District of New York as well as the Eastern, and they house my clients in the same place that Diddy is being housed. The FBI is definitely raiding MDC over the last 2 weeks, taking out weapons and notes and everything. And so in this raid, I think what the government's attempting to do is show two things. One, that Sean Combs is still a threat to those people who are outside of jail, and they're trying to raise that argument because, you know, on Friday, there's going to be another argument for another bail reduction, or at least to get him out of jail for the time, and they're going to use this information to say if he's not doing what he's supposed to do while incarcerated, he's definitely not going to do it while out. But there's still a potential of additional charges like witness tampering, and we do know a grand jury is in panel looking at new evidence going on, so it's kind of two things that Diddy's looking at with this new information coming out.
All right, let's talk about this attorney that's known for filing multiple civil lawsuits against Diddy. Now he's the one that's being sued. Yeah. What's the latest on this?
So his name is Tony Busby. He's a prominent Houston-based attorney, and we've seen him in the news, not just for Diddy, but for other cases as well. Now, a quote-unquote prominent figure, because they're filing a lawsuit under the pseudonym of John Doe, is saying that he's being extorted by Tony Busby to the tune of millions of dollars, saying that he's coming after them, making these salacious and false claims that he was a part of these freak-offs with Diddy, and there's a ticking clock, that if he doesn't come forward in a certain amount of time, then there will be a lawsuit and explosive information. Now, the prominent figure, that John Doe, is saying this is all lies. This is kind of Tony Busby's bread and butter of just kind of putting out this information and seeing what sticks. So we'll see what happens going forward.
All right, let's look at this other case, the Menendez brothers in LA. There's a new DA-elect there who says that they're going to look at all the evidence in the case. What does this all mean for the Menendez brothers?
So the Menendez brothers have a number of avenues in which they're trying to get out of prison sooner than that life without the possibility of parole. One of them was going through the DA, then George Gascon, now Nathan Hochman, where Nathan is saying, I'm the new DA. I'm going to review everything that George Gascon went over. I may agree with him, I may not agree with him, but the time frame is pretty tight because the new DA doesn't take office until December 2nd, and then on December 11th is supposed to be the hearing. So for the Menendez brothers, this could be a matter of pushing back the hearing. It could be a matter of the new DA saying, I disagree with the old DA, and I'm not going to condone or even advocate for a quicker release or resentencing, and then I'll be back to the other avenues of pursuing to try to get the Menendez brothers out.
And Governor Newsom is also weighed in on this case, and that he'll defer to the DA-elect before making any clemency decision. So how important is clemency at this point?
So clemency is one of the other major avenues to try to get the Menendez brothers out. You have the resentencing through the district attorney, you have the habeas corpus petition through the court, you have clemency through the governor. The governor is basically saying, I'm not going to get involved, so there's another avenue that's now been shut down to the Menendez brothers, and they've got to try to explore their other options.
All right, back to New York. Another case, the subway chokehold death case. The prosecution has rested. The defense is about to go. What do we expect to hear from them?
Yeah, so in the defense's case, what they're really focusing on is something different than just the chokehold. They're not looking at the recklessness of Daniel Penny's actions, so to speak, but they're looking at the cause of Jordan Neely's death. And so what I think we're going to expect to see here is a greater focus on what substances was in Jordan Neely's system, and a stronger argument of potentially the chokehold not being the cause of his death, but instead the substances in Jordan Neely's body, something that we saw in cross-examination, opening statements, as well as even Daniel Penny's own statements in his interrogation.
And Neely also had a history of mental illness, arrests, drug use. Witnesses also testified that he was acting erratic on the train. So if this isn't evidence, how could it be used in the trial?
So the interesting part is about how it's used in evidence and how it's articulated by the witnesses, and even maybe Daniel Penny if he takes the stand. Daniel Penny can testify as to what he observed and how he reacted. So he can say, I observed Jordan Neely and I thought that he was mentally ill, and so I reacted this way. I observed him and he looked intoxicated, so I operated this way. But he can't say that he knew he had a criminal history, that he knew he had mental health issues, and that's why he acted, because he didn't know that information. And typically the law will not allow you to bring that information unless you know that. It kind of makes sense. Like if I'm having self-defense and I attack let's say, for example, I'm not going to attack you because you're too strong. Let's go after Dr. Sutton, right? I attack Dr. Sutton, right? And he says, well, I had to defend myself because Brian Buckmire is a black belt, so I had to like bring a knife or something like that. It makes sense because that knowledge, it happens. I'm not a black belt. I'm not going to talk Dr. Sutton, but it's all about what you know and how you can respond. He didn't know this information about Neely, so likely not going to come in.
It's really impressive that you got through these 3 cases so very quickly.
Yeah, it's been a long day.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you,
Brian Buckmire. Always a pleasure to have you on.